Hi guys, welcome to a new video. In this video, we'll be making this trendy top with front slits both at the waistline and at the neck area. It also has belts by the side and it has a free sleeve. If this is something you like to make, please keep watching. Also, don't forget to like, share, comment, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you'll be notified whenever I make a new post. It also helps my post to reach as many people as possible. Thank you. Now for this style, I used 3 yards of fabric to make both the top and the skirt. The first thing to do is to divide your hip measurement for the blouse by 4 and add about 4 inches, and then that's what you use to cut out your fabric. You also want to measure how long you want this top to be. That's what you actually be using to cut out the length. So you just add like an allowance or 2 depending. So just cut out your fabric. Using everything I've mentioned, I've gone ahead to cut out 2 pieces of fabric, with one being wider than the other, and the one that is wider will serve as the front, while the one that is smaller will serve as the back, because the extension, which is like an allowance, that looks like a zipper allowance, will be in front instead of at the back. So this is me just measuring 1 inch and marking a point and extending the lines. That is going to be the allowance for the front part, the area that has like the opening. So I've placed the back piece on the lines, so it's like you're actually cutting the exact same thing, but one part is just 1 inch wider than the other. I'm just measuring, and this is my hip. As you can see, I have an additional 2.5 to 3 inches. I'm also measuring the length, and for the length I think I had about 26 inches. The first thing to do is to mark the starting point, which is also my shoulder line. From the shoulder point, I'll mark my bust point, which is 10 inch, my under bust, which is 13 inches, my waistline, which is 16 inches, and then the rest of the fabric will serve as the full length of this top. I'll extend the lines. The next thing to do is to mark my shoulder measurement divided by 2, which is 7.5 inches. Please, every measurement is starting from the back, so we're not taking note of the 1 inch allowance. The next thing is to mark both my neck depth and width, and I'm using 3 inches for the width and 1.5 for the depth for the back. On my shoulder point, I'll come down by 1 inch, which is going to serve as my shoulder slope, and then I'll connect it to the neckline. I'll come down by my armhole, which is 7.5 inches. I'll mark a point there, and then I'll extend the lines. This line is going to serve as my chest line. So I'm just going to go ahead and label chest line. That's my bust line. That's my under bust. This is my waistline or half length, and that's the full length of this top. On my chest line, I'm going to mark the exact same thing I have on my shoulder line. I'm going to repeat it on the chest line, and then I'm going to use a ruler to connect them to get my armhole. On the armhole line, I'm going to take the midpoint. I'll mark a point there, and then I'm going to go in by 1/2 inch. Also, on my chest line, I'm going to take my bust measurement divided by 4, and then I'm going to add an extra 2.5 inches, which is going to serve as both my ease and my sewing allowance. Then I'll go ahead and connect all those points you see on the screen together to get my armhole curve. The next thing is to go to my waistline and take my waist circumference divided by 4 and also add the 2.5 inch ease and allowance. I'll repeat the same thing on the full length. I'll take my hip measurement divided by 4, mark the point, and add my 2.5 inches. Then I'll connect all the points just the way you see me doing it, alright? Now on the bottom line, I'm going to go up by 2 inches, and then I'm going to connect it into the center front just like I'm doing. It eliminates any sharp edges on the side. Then I'll go ahead and cut it following all of the lines that I have made. So after cutting the neckline, I'll separate the front from the back. So I'm just labeling this back, and then I'll take it away, and then I'll cut my actual neckline for the front. And I'm using 4 inches for this. So I'm just going ahead to cut out 4 inches as the depth for the front neckline. Then I've opened it up, so I have 2 pieces. So this is exactly what you should be having for the front. So I'm just going ahead to label this front. The next thing to do is to go ahead and cut out my lining piece. So just place this fabric on your lining and cut out the exact same thing. The only difference between the lining and the fabric is that the lining is about half of an inch shorter. So just trim away half of an inch from your lining piece. So I'm repeating the exact same thing for the other lining. So take away half of an inch from the lining of both the front and the back piece. After doing that, the next thing to do is to go ahead and place the lining piece right side facing each other. So place the right side of the fabric on the right side of the lining, even if the lining doesn't exactly have the right side, and then just go and stitch following all these lines that I've already made. So you stitch from the neckline down to the allowance, down to the bottom of this top, and then to the side. So the only part that will be open is your shoulder area and your armhole. If you want to stitch this, please, you can start from the neck. After stitching the neck, you stitch the lower part, and then you go ahead and stitch the sides. You repeat the exact same thing. Place the right side of your fabric on the lining, and then you turn the neckline. So just follow where my chalk, stitch following where my chalk is. You do the sides, you do the bottom part, and then you also turn the other side. So the only part that will be open is your armhole and your shoulder area. I've done it and I've given it a very good press, and this is exactly what it looks like. This is also what it looks like for the front. So it's just the armhole and the shoulder area that is opened. As you can see, is looking really neat. Now I'll go ahead and place my front side, right side facing each other, and then I'll take away that allowance that I made. What I have left now is 0.75. I'll really line across. The next thing is to mark my bust point, which is 10 inches, and my half length, which is 16 inches. From the thumbnail, the slit stops at around 10 inches, but for mine, I want to wear this to church, so I made it 4 inches. So I'm going to mark a point there, and then from that waistline to the 4 inches that I marked, I'm going to use a tight stitch. That's the area where I'm going to be stitching. So the rest of this part will be opened, but I used a loose stitch. So I stitched it from that 4 inches, and then I stopped at the 16 inches. For the rest, I used a loose stitch, because I'll lose later to get my slits. I'll join the front piece and the back piece together, shoulder to shoulder. So I'll place both sides, right side facing each other, and then I'll take the lining piece of the back, and then I'll cross it over to the front. Please just watch what I'm doing. We've done this a lot of times on the channel. Then you go and then you stitch. You repeat the exact same process on the other shoulder area. After that, I also ironed hemming gum underneath this because I wanted it to slip and be sleek. After stitching the shoulder area, this is exactly what it looks like in front. I've also used my hemming gum, and as you can see, it is laid down. So this is already coming out really nice and neat. The next thing to do is to go ahead and measure my armhole area to cut out my sleeve. So just measure like this and take note of whatever it is you have. Mine, I had 21 inches. Now for my sleeve, I cut out my fabric, and my fabric was at least 12 inches wide and 18 inches long. I actually wanted 20 inches, but I did not have a lot of fabric. The first thing I did was to mark my starting point, and then I came down by 4.5 inches, which is like my sleeve cap. After that, on a slant, just like I'm doing, you're going to measure your armhole round. For this top, mine was 21, so I divided by 2, and then I connected the point in a slant, just like this, okay? The next thing is I got the midpoint, and then I marked a point there. Then I went down on this side, just watch what I'm doing, by half of an inch or quarter. I did not want this sleeve to be very curved because it's actually a free sleeve. At the bottom of the sleeve, I also used 11 inches, and then I connected in a little bit of an A shape to the armhole. If you check the video of this tie, you see that it has like a V a V shape at this point that I'm marking now. It has a V shape on the sleeve. So I went up by 2 inches and I marked a point there, and then I went in by 0.5 inch, and then I connected. After I connected to the 2-inch points that I made, I decided to reduce it and not make it exactly 0.5 inch. So I made it almost 0.5 inch, and then I connected like so, and then I'm going to go ahead and cut it out. So the style has like a V shape at the center of the sleeve. So I cut out everything following the lines that I've made, and I also took out that V shape. So this is what the sleeve looks like. So you're going to have that V shape effect on the sleeve when you wear it. So after cutting my sleeves, because of the V shape of this, you're actually going to need a fabric to turn this out. So, and that area that has a V-neck, it wouldn't look very nice if a black lining is showing under. So I decided to put the fabric at the bottom of the lining. So since my V shape is 2 inches, I added 3 inches of my Ankara to my lining piece before I cut it out. So this sleeve is fully lined. Next thing to do is to place my fabric and my lining right sides facing each other. After placing, I'll go ahead and pin it down to make sure that the V shape is aligned together for both the lining and the fabric. So I'm just pinning it down. After that, as you can see, I've properly aligned them. Just making sure that they are properly aligned. So just follow the direction of my sleeve, and then you're just going to go ahead and stitch. After which you turn over to the right side and iron. So I'm just showing you with my chalk the lines that your thread are supposed to follow. So go up to the V shape like so, go down, and then you go to the side. So the only area that will be open is actually the part that you'll be sewing to the armhole of the blouse. After I've gone ahead to stitch it, this is what it looks like for both sleeves. As you can see, it came out really neat and it looks nice. The next thing you're going to do, you're going to be placing this to the fabric center to center, and then you're just going to go ahead and pin it down, and then you're going to sew from the center to one end of the top and then to the other end using 1/2 inch. You also repeat the same process for the other sleeve. By the time you are done, you would have fixed your both sleeves. After I was done fixing the sleeve, this is what it looks like. This is what it looks like on the inside. I use my weaving machine to just serge the edges so it will look really neat. The next thing to do, I went ahead to align this properly. I made sure they were properly aligned, and then I got the midpoint. That's your waistline. So mark from your shoulder measurement to your waistline, because this is going to have a belt. You'll be attaching a belt. I found out that it wasn't correct, so I just marked the accurate measurement. So I marked it on both sides of this top. Now I'm going to get my belt, and then I'm going to be inserting it inside. My belt is at least, I think, 30 inches long and 2 inches wide. So you can choose to make it whatever length you want it to be. Now I'm going to insert the belt into this fabric like this. So make sure that the long part of the belt is inside the fabric and it's just the mouth that is facing outside. So please just watch what I'm doing. After which you're going to go ahead and pin the belt down. You're going to repeat the same process for the other side of this blouse. So just make sure you put the belt inside the fabric and then go ahead and pin it down. After that, you're going to properly align your sleeve, your armhole, your waistline, and the bottom of this top, and then you're going to go ahead and stitch using 0.75 inch. You repeat the exact same process for the other side of this blouse. After I was done, this is exactly what the top is looking like. We are almost done with this top. As you can see, it's really neat. The next thing to do is to take away that loose stitch. Remember, I used the loose stitch. I'm just using my seam ripper to loosen it up so that I can get my slits both at the lower part and at the upper part. So I loosen it to that 4 inches that I made, and then I also loosen the waist area to my half length. So as you can see, we have the slit both at the upper part and the lower part. So this is exactly what what it looks like. I feel like this video did not do justice to this style because it came out looking really pretty. Guys, this is the end of this tutorial. Please don't forget to like, share, comment, leave a comment so that the algorithm can help this video to reach more people. Also, don't forget to subscribe to my channel. Drop a thumbs up also. Thank you very much, and see you in my next video. Bye.